Are you in the middle of school though?
So, hi guys. So we're on Facebook Live now. So to make sure you turn off your cameras, okay? So we're gonna have Emma talk in just a few minutes. But I'm so glad to see you guys. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Kendall. So welcome everybody. I think let me make sure we're on. Yeah. Yep, yeah, we're on. So this is Teresa Banda. I am the Executive Director of Texas Hands and Voices, and we're going live today with Emma Faye Rudkin. So give us a few more minutes and we're just gonna wait for some more people to jump on with us. You can join us on Zoom. I've posted the link on our Facebook page. You can also just watch on Facebook Live. We have a wonderful interpreter with us today, Ms. Bethany. And we'll have Sarah Milam as well, our Astra coordinator, joining us. But just give us a few more minutes and we'll have Emma tell us all about what's going on at Aid the Silent. So if you're on our Zoom channel with us, like Kendall and Gabby are, I'm going to ask you guys to turn off your cameras so that way everybody can see just Emma and myself and the interpreter. So if you can, go ahead and turn off your cameras, guys. Thank you so much. All right, so give us a few more minutes and we'll get started. And we'll have Emma tell us all about the exciting things going on at Aid the Silent and any upcoming events. And we get to meet her sidekick, Hank. Just a few more minutes here. Let's see here.
Yeah, ready to hang out. Yes.
Oh, so excited.
My friend said Jason Shaw is joining on behalf of the Texas Deaf Chamber.
Yay!
Let's see.
So excited.
Yes, he's awesome.
Yeah, well, we have some great people out there in our community. So, well, it is 2 o'clock, so we don't want to, to fiddle around too much. So I'm going to go ahead and make some introductions. So I am Teresa Banda. I'm Executive Director for Texas Hands and Voices, the Texas chapter. We're proud to be Texans. I have the good fortune of knowing Emma Faye for some time now. We met when my daughter was 8 years old. So excited to have her on with us today. If you need an interpreter, we have Ms. Bethany on here. You can pin her on your Zoom link or just watch Facebook Live. She should be visible as well. If you need captioning, we have auto captions on our Zoom link, and I've already shared that Zoom link on our Facebook page. Just find that, click on that, and you should be able to read along with captions as well. So we were waiting for one more guest to appear, but I'm sure she'll make herself known once she gets on. But if everybody's ready, hey, Emma, you want to tell us all about what's going on with Aid the Silent? But first, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce your trusty sidekick, and then tell us what's going on at Aid the Silent right now.
That's awesome. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here. And we have so much happening. So first, you're gonna have to meet my best friend. And he is the Robin to my Batman. So he's sleeping. Here he is. He's sleeping. He's bored with me. We've been at home working, and I'm so excited to get to know y'all. And I love Texas Hands and Voices so much because they represent both sides of the bridge. So we have signers, we have a hard of hearing, we have those who listen in spoken language, hearing aids, implants, different kinds of sign language. Everyone gets to belong, and that's what's the most important thing about the deaf hard of hearing community. We all belong. We all need to support each other, encourage each other, because we know the journey for hearing loss is pretty hard sometimes, especially if you do it alone. So that's why this is important, because we're not alone. We're together. I use more like SimCom, and Bethany is gonna use ASL True. It's hard for me to stop SimComming. It's hard, so I'm gonna do both if you don't mind. And you can also click on the captions if you just joined. And I'm so happy to see the name popping up because I know y'all. So my name is Emma Faye Rudkin. My sign name is Emma because when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader. And during that time, I actually had a horrific injury where I had broken my foot and I was in so much pain. But I would still smile. Even if I was hurting, I would be smiling. And the first interpreter I ever met was sitting in the crowd. She came to me and realized I was a deaf cheerleader in high school. And she goes, I know you've been hurting and like this is happening, but you still smile. And I think that describes my story so much as no matter what was happening with circumstances, situations, I've always decided that choosing joy, choosing the perspective that it's okay, I'm strong, that's what described me that name sign. So I love that. Um, when I was younger, I was very self-conscious, very much aware that I was different, my voice was different, hearing aids were big, and I used to be so embarrassed of those differences and really struggled to find my place of where I belong. And if you're a part of the hearing community, it's easy to have banter. You know, your personality can show if someone says something funny and then you like put your witty comments in there. Well, for me, because I was in a hearing school mainstream, I never got to share that smart, funny side of your personality. You miss those opportunities because you're trying to catch up with conversation. So when I got older, a part of both in a hearing and deaf community, I felt that belonging of, oh, for the first time, someone understands my personality. Like I felt known for the first time among friends because I could sign and understand funny things. So if you're in between like me, I'm an in-betweener, kind of that gray deaf person. You belong still. You're still here. So I grew and matured and found that confidence as I got older and I realized that who I was and my character was from the strength that deafness gave me. Experiencing hearing loss, struggles in school, I was constantly catching up. I was always behind. For example, my friends would go to school, study, and do fine. For me, I would have to go home and teach myself again school that day and try to understand, and then I would go take the test, and sometimes still you would fail because you were missing so much. So just struggled all the time in school with friends, misunderstandings. And then when I finally got to high school, that confidence just grew. And when I got to college, still very shy, still very like hesitant where I belong. And then my life changed when I started really dreaming big and I wanted to become the second Miss America who was deaf. So I signed up as a total camp hippie girl that hated the shower, hated to speak in front of people, and I signed up for a beauty competition and ended up winning Miss San Antonio, and won that. And I knew my platform was to start a nonprofit. And the nonprofit is called Aid the Silent. Name sign is Aid the Silent. And our goal is to service children no matter where they're from, and especially those who are left behind in the system, those who missed early intervention, those who missed opportunities to get resources and help, those who kind of fall through the cracks of not qualifying for insurance or even Medicaid. So we fill in a lot of the gaps that happen, and we just advocate and love children. So we have been running 6 years. We're getting close to 7 years of running this organization. And it has been the most beautiful journey of my life, of so many people's lives, because now we look back and we're seeing generational life change. So now the kids we helped when they were younger, now they're stepping up and helping other kids, which is amazing to see. Like, we have a little alumni group who is serving in these same places, because we're sharing the message of, hey, there is freedom, hey, there is joy and hearing loss, hey, this is a beautiful story, and just changing the narrative about hearing loss is so important. Well, even though I had all these wonderful things happening, I went on to win 2 times Miss San Antonio, was even top 5 at Miss Texas competition. Even though all that was happening, I still had so much I was dealing with inside, because although I was a healthy, happy adult, I had so much trauma from my childhood I never dealt with. Like, I had never gone to counseling to figure out why I felt alone, or why I had anxiety in certain situations. So I actually got to the point I needed help. I needed to figure out, why was I so anxious and depressed? Although my life looked amazing on paper, I was still really struggling. And the biggest thing was that I all of a sudden lost a huge part of my hearing that was left. My hearing, I was missing already like 75%, like deaf. So in college, about halfway through, I ended up getting really sick with a high fever, and I realized one morning I usually use like a white noise machine, so it kind of like it feels very comforting. I could hear it because it was a low frequency, was very low, so I could still hear it at night. Well, after I got sick, I realized I couldn't hear anything at night. Became like at night, and it was so terrifying, because all you did was feel your own heartbeat, and you felt like there was just an empty silence, even more so for me. And my anxiety started developing more and more, because I no longer felt safe in public. I didn't feel safe at night, and my anxiety was pretty crippling. Like, I couldn't do anything about it. And my job is traveling for Aid the Salon, speaking and teaching and conferences, churches, a lot of educational conferences I would go, and I travel independently alone. So during this time, I realized a lot of my fear had to do with my environmental sound or nighttime. So I had gone to San Diego for a conference, and it had to do with the head, ear, and neck surgery. So involving cochlear implants and different hearing loss. Like, doctors were all there in San Diego, and they had a train right in front of the convention center. So I'm walking, just like talking to people going, and all of a sudden the train starts coming. You could see it. I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. There was no arm levers that lowered. There were no lights, and someone had to grab me by the collar and pull me off the train track. Terrifying. I realized I could not hear trains, like nothing. So I realized I needed help, and I started researching a hearing dog. So I found on Google this amazing organization called Needs. So NEADS. They are in Massachusetts, so really far. I researched where's like the best top hearing dog training facility in the world. And so I found that one. I applied, and then you had to wait about 2 years. So it's a long process. So my biggest suggestion would be if you know you're about to enter in a season of like your child going to college by themselves, or you're making a change independently to go live like alone or something. Apply now for a hearing dog because it is such a long process.
Mhm.
And many of these organizations that train dogs to be a hearing dog, they do not just like train the dog to fit the person's needs. They find the perfect dog who already has these skills to fit with the person. So the reason I got Hank, after waiting for 2 years, they finally found that perfect match. And I have been so lonely. I really needed like a dog, honestly. I needed a dog. And more so, I needed a dog that could work for me and help me.
Hey,
So,
Emma, this is Terry. Can you tell us a little bit about that process? I know you said it was because you had a life changing experience, right? When you experienced that train moving. I know I'm hard of hearing myself, and I've lost hearing as I've gotten older, and it's it is frightening sometimes when your comfort level changes.
mm,
Being the parent of a child that is deaf, and I know sometimes when we're out in public it can be really frightening for me to know that when she gets a certain distance away from me, she's not going to see me or hear me.
mm.
But tell me a little bit more about that experience with when you decided to get a dog, a hearing dog. Was it, is it difficult financially for families to get a pet? I mean, not a pet, a guide dog like that? Are there supports in place? Do the agencies help you get those, funding, or is it, how expensive is it? I guess I don't know enough about that to really comment. So I was wondering if you could share just a little bit more about that.
So, first, I would say you need to research a lot
Mhm.
where to find the dog. Some people decide they need to train the dog themselves. So
Okay.
that's an option. But my caution, if you know yourself honestly. So I've seen two situations. Um, One person's like, "Oh, I'm gonna train them." Then they kind of give up and the dog becomes a dog.
Mhm.
So be cautious if you decide I'm gonna train this dog myself. My caution is be really serious about it. Research it, know what you're doing ahead of time because it is hard when someone has a dog and training, but they're really not. And that does give a bad name for people who truly are training their dog themselves or truly have a legit service dog that they went through programs, they went to training. So that's my caution. If you decide to train your dog, you need to be 100% invested, not just like, oh, it's a pet during the day. Like, no, it's got to be a serious training. This is not your family pet. Like, you have to separate it out. And then also, I've seen amazing examples where my friends train their dogs, and they do things that even Hank can't do because they were so invested, they were available, they brought the dog, they trained it, they didn't baby it. So that's important things, and to teach them the difference between playtime, work time. When they're young, it's very difficult. So just you have to know yourself if you're gonna be dedicated, like I'm dedicated to train it for a hearing. For me, it made sense because I know myself. I couldn't get a puppy and treat it like a service dog. Because the puppy for me is like, this is my baby dog. Like, it's so precious and I'm so obsessed. But I knew I couldn't train it myself. So I looked for organizations, and there's many out there. You just need to research and start emailing a bunch of people because someone's gonna see, oh, this person we have like the perfect fit or our program fits. Like even message other organizations who don't say hearing dog, but they say training like guide dogs because you never know, they may have a dog who failed the the seeing guide dogs that maybe felt that part, but they're like, "Ooh, that dog has a gift of hearing," and they really would be better at that. So always just email different organizations about that. For me, fortunately, Hank was no cost, and that I would say maybe most organizations, all I had to do was help fundraise, like a small portion, and just help promote the organization. So I have like raised money because I because they asked me to help because they've just given me this dog. So typically, like a dog like Hank, they cost about $45,000 to train.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like I have to protect him too. Like you have to be cautious to not interrupt him, to not distract him. So you really learn how to work with
Mhm.
people, and it's so hard because I work with kids, so I'm always like, "No, you can," but just, like, ask, just
Yeah.
sit, wait, but it didn't cost me anything other than my plane ticket and the food once I was there.
Okay.
But everything else, they handled it for me. But that's just the organization I worked with, so I don't know what else happened.
Right. And this is Teresa again. So what I wanted to say to everyone is if in case they didn't notice, that black thing behind Emma isn't a pillow, it's Hank. He's like he's hanging out with her today on camera. So, and he's is precious and he's a great working dog. Can you tell us about the adventures you guys have been on? I know that you have a new show on PBS, and I think it's a great I guess like a learning, you're teaching ASL or teaching sign language, and it's maybe for the younger kids, but tell us a little bit about that and maybe where we can find that show.
Yes. So, because of my job traveling, normally Hank and I are on the road, we're flying everywhere, we're super busy, and we have been to many different places that are pretty amazing. We got to go to Disney World together, and he loves the rides so much. So, it's the same as a little baby. You can pick the rides that are safe for babies. That's the same rule for bringing your service dog. So his favorite ride is it's a small world after all. He loved it the whole time. He's like watching it and just super involved in the ride. But then we went on the haunted mansion. He hated it. He was so afraid. He like hid and he was trying to like hide between my legs because he knew it was supposed to be scary. So that used to be our life, traveling, meeting with kids, schools, teaching people about his jobs. And now, during COVID, I decided like we need a way to reach kids still because that just stopped. I mean, 100% stopped. No access to schools at all. And it was just so sad because then we have so many messages. Hank and I, that's all we do is just encourage kids and bring him to the schools. So I wrote a idea for a TV show called the Hank. So Hank, his name sign this, and MFA show. And I presented it to PBS and they loved it. So now it's just a 1 minute segment in between shows on PBS. And we teach a sign and like a lesson for the day. So it's really basic signs. And then we explain why it's important. So, for example, we'll teach the sign um, friend, and then we teach why it's important to be a good friend.
Okay.
And Hank is so animated and he's so well trained that I can say certain words or sentences or gestures, and Hank responds and like his eyes lift or he'll like high five me or like look for something that I somehow make it fit the show and then they edit it so it looks like Hank is doing it alone. but behind the scenes, I'm giving him training commands. So it looks like he understands, he's responding, he's trying to like do the lesson with us, but really in secret, they're editing it so it looks like he just did it.
So for everyone that's listening today, can you share the webpage maybe where we can find some of these segments? I think you had
Yeah,
shared it in the past on Aid the Silence Facebook page, but maybe we can tell everyone what it is, or we can write it in the comments today just so that everybody can find those. 'Cause I know I've watched a few and they're really cute and I love them. So
thanks.
yeah, we
It's
can
so
get
good
that.
for the young kids. It really is such a sweet show. Recently we've been like recognized by little kids, and their parents are like, "Wait, why are you trying to like talk to this random stranger?" And they're like, "No, it's Hank and it's Emma." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you just made my whole world." That a little tiny kid recognizes Hank and I is so fun. So also I wanted to share what Hank does for me. Um, so Hank has so many skills that he does. He knows my full name, Emma Faye. And so if someone calls my name, he will like look for my hand to touch it. He'll kind of nuzzle me, or he'll even stop and look. So how I partner with Hank is his head is always moving to sound. So if it's an important sound like a car backing out or someone saying my name, Hank always looks and stops and he protects me. And that's amazing. So that's why people assume it's wrong that he has a muzzle. So it's a loop around his nose, a loop.
Mhm,
And it's not that. It's a head. It's called a gentle leader. And
mhm,
why he has that, if his head was moving, I wouldn't feel it. But with the head part, if it was just a collar, I couldn't feel it. But because it's his head moving, I feel it on the leash. And that helps me know, oh, Hank heard something. I need to stop and look my environment and see what's happening. Also, he wakes me up in the mornings with an alarm clock. So he doesn't sleep with me. He sleeps on the floor, and then when the morning happens, the alarm's ringing, he runs and jumps on the bed to wake me up. If someone knocks, he will come and get me and bring me to the door. So anything that has sound, Hank makes a very obvious physical way to know. So not things like water running, because that's just an everyday, like every minute sound. But if it's like a serious big sound, he knows to let me know. Um, so also under the ADA, you do not have to tell people what your dog is for. You don't have to share your disability, nothing. You don't have to share anything, but you can decide voluntarily to be willing to share what he does. So under the ADA, they can ask me, or the it's IDA, so a assistant assistant dog international is the kind of program certification
mhm,
that your dog needs. Even if you trained your dog yourself, it's called assistance dog international is the most important thing to look at. So they can ask me, what 3 tasks can Hank do? They can't ask me what my disability is, but they can ask, hey, what 3 things does Hank do? Because if it's not a legit service dog, people that don't really have a disability, they can't answer that. They're like, what? But I know because Hank saved me, Hank works for me. I know, wakes me up every morning, brings me to the door, and then he knows my name and can retrieve me for sound. Already, like, I already set myself apart as legitimate because on airplanes now they're cracking down for emotional support
Mhm.
dogs. So that's a hard thing. But I would say there is such a difference between a service dog and someone who's a pet.
Right.
So Hank goes on an airplane, he doesn't move. He stays and under my seat in the front. He curled up in a little tiny ball. He doesn't move. He can hold his bathroom for hours. That's different. He goes to the bathroom on command. He doesn't try to walk faster than me. He always stays and step with me. There's so many differences to notice that. I would say it's not your job to be on patrol. Like that person had a fake dog. Like we don't know fully their story, but just protect your own self if you know you have a service dog. Know your 3 tasks they can
Right.
perform.
Right.
I can list it off so quickly.
So Emma, we did have a question on Facebook. Let's circle back to when you mentioned the COVID-19 and how things stopped all of a sudden. And, so the question was from the community that says, what are the challenges you see in the deaf, hard of hearing community with COVID-19? What are the, what was most impacted and what are the challenges you are seeing? So maybe you can give us a little bit about what you've experienced with COVID-19, not only yourself, but the community.
Wow, that's such a good question. I think we have had 400 days or more of mask, which makes it extremely difficult to communicate. And early on, we developed a program called the Clear Mask campaign. So we actually sell clear masks. We still sell them, and honestly, in the very beginning, it was really tough because there was so much fear and not enough information about the pandemic. So people at first were not willing at all to accommodate at all. So not even willing to like get a paper and write it and show it back and forth because they didn't want to touch things. So now that people know more about it, they're more willing. But here's what's scary. One of my good friends in the deaf community, she runs deaf women of God, and she's like a really famous worship interpreter. My friend recently this past week was actually attacked because there's something happened. She didn't hear the person at the counter at 7-Eleven. She's in Austin, and she was trying to communicate. She said, "Hey, you're gonna have to lower it for a short time, or you're gonna have to write it." The woman just washed it on her, and she has tons of injuries all over her face. She was attacked. It's now a police issue just because she is deaf and didn't understand what was happening. So I've been in many situations that make me anxious and nervous because they're assuming, oh, she's just rude or she's not being compliant and following the rules. And they don't realize, like, I struggle. I have anxiety. I can't touch my face hardly without freaking out. So it's just been a very weird time. And people need to be more compassionate and understanding that not everyone can fit what's happening. Like
Right.
many of my friends that are deaf are struggling, especially young kids and teenagers. They are just like have been at a loss. And so many of them are now like a year behind, which is really a tragedy. It's really awful. So now we're just trying to catch up as best we can with all these kids. But you have to do what's personally best for you, I know. But for us, we've decided like we need to understand to communicate and be safe because for 400 and more days, I've not felt safe. I've not felt comfortable. I lost my independence because I
Mhm.
can't hardly go grocery shopping by myself anymore without some type of situation about someone being frustrated I didn't hear them. So it's just been a scary time. But
Yeah.
my world was pretty impacted when I saw my good friend be attacked and just it's awful. The lack of compassion is pretty bad right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is Teresa again, and I kind of agree with you. It has been a challenge for so many of our families across the state. We've heard about different families experiencing different types of stress. You mentioned earlier in when we were talking about being an in-betweener, I kind of see myself and my daughter Gabby, and Emma and Gabby are good friends and as in-betweeners because we don't, I don't sign, and I was very accustomed to reading lips. So Gabby does sign, but a large population, most people don't sign. And so we were both at a loss, going out into the community and trying to go grocery shopping, like you said, or even going to the restaurant and ordering your own food. It can become challenging. And so I completely understand that stress. I know that's not everyone's, experience, but that was our experience. And thankfully, I didn't have any bad experiences except for that anxiety maybe that we felt personally. But most people that we encountered here in San Antonio, in our own adventures, mine and Gabby's, we had very compassionate people and people that understood and kind of did the same thing. They would either lower their mask or write, out what we needed. If I wasn't understanding what they were saying through the mask. So that has definitely been a challenge for our families as well. COVID-19 has had a huge impact on everyone all over the state. And it feels good knowing that it seems like we're coming out on the other end now finally, and things are changing for our families. And so we hope that we'll see some relief from that soon. But I was so happy when you did the mask, when y'all created your mask. And we also had our own mask that we sold through Rafi Nova. We were part of a program and we were really excited about that as well. And the fact that people were actually willing to go out and buy those and use them was huge for all of us. So Sarah Milam also commented that her son is an in-betweener and restaurants were really, really tough for him too. Yeah, I think for our kids, especially those or individuals that are deaf or hard of hearing, who rely mostly on reading lips and not so much sign, because again, not everybody signs out in public. It's not a language that's taught in schools. So I think we struggle the most, and it has truly been a challenge. But we're so thankful that things seem to be getting better. I know it's getting a little bit late in our day. I promised I'd kind of keep you short and maybe 30 minutes, but we're going to go over
There's
just
so
a
much to
little
talk
bit.
about.
I know there's so much to talk
Oh,
about. So I'm so thankful that you're here. But can you tell us about the 5K that's coming up? I want to say right now, loud and clear, that Texas Hands and Voices will have a booth and we'll be out at the 5K grounds this year. So I'm excited about that. We'll have lots of information to share with families, but tell us all about the 5K, when it happens, and if people can still sign up for it.
awesome. Yes. So we are getting super close. It's May 15th, Saturday morning. So 8 a.m. it starts. And it's at the Boney Main Square Plaza. It's beautiful. It's the Riverwalk. It's in Boney, not San Antonio, but it's outside and it's an amazing like running course if you're a serious runner. I'm not, but it's a beautiful path and run. You can walk, run. Deaf and hard of hearing people are free, like completely free, paid for. We want as many deaf and hard of hearing people there because so many of the big industry leaders, so many organizations, especially if the deaf run, they're free. Like you don't have to pay for a booth. So it's just great awareness, and we purposely invite people who need to be compassionate about hearing loss and businesses who need to understand. It's very purposeful. And also we love it because deaf and hard of hearing people from all over Texas connect and become friends. And especially for our younger kids, it's so important to see that there's someone older who is deaf and successful and kind and making a difference in their lives. So it's important for young deaf hard of hearing to see the deaf community represented. And also we already record signups. We are nearing 400, but normally we're about 200 this far out. Last year we had to do a COVID friendly one. We're gonna do something very similar this year so that we cannot have a cap. But people are signing up, so I really want you guys to be there to represent your communities and to experience the vendors, the booths, the sponsors there. They want to know you guys. They're there for the deaf and hard of hearing to support them. And Boney, Texas is the perfect place to hang out on your Saturday. It's beautiful, the restaurants, the shopping. So make it a family day. So many families come, it's super family friendly. We have interpreters captioning both so you can belong, and we just want you there. So please sign up because you're free if you have hearing loss, and it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Emma, so much for sharing that. It really is an amazing event. It's when you mentioned earlier today that you're going on 7 years with Aid the Silent. I want to say that I met you 7 years ago, probably with Gabby, the very first time. And I met you long before I ever came to Texas Hands and Voices. But I'm so glad to be a part of your community and a part of the deaf and hard of hearing community. And we'll be out there on that Saturday representing Texas Hands and Voices. We'll have a booth. Come out and join us, come out and visit with us, get to know us a little bit. I look forward to partnering with you on other events. So I'm looking forward to this. And I'm really grateful that you decided to come on today and do a Facebook Live with us. This is our second Facebook Live. Let us know if you want more of these. I mean, we're just trying something new. We want to get the word out to our community about the different events, the different programs and projects that are out there and available to you. I'm so thankful that so many of you jumped on Zoom today, as well as watching, on Facebook. And it doesn't look like we have any other last minute questions. Somebody just mentioned that they're going to be signing up for the virtual race in El Paso. So that's pretty cool. We have people in
Yay!
El Paso watching today. Tori Schaefer. Hi, Tori. Thanks so much for letting us know. Somebody on Facebook commented, here, we have another one. Great job on recruiting partners and sponsors for the 5K run. I am wondering how businesses and organizations can get to hear about this and pitch in to help. Meaning, how is the event marketed? Is it only locally in San Antonio? So I'll let you answer that.
Jason, I can email you, but we are very active on social media. Right now, my Instagram is taken off for some reason, but it should return back this week. I'm hoping it sounds positive, but it's through, I guess, word of sign, word of sign and speech. It just spreads, and also we're very strong on social media. My team is very involved in the deaf community, and we just love our partners. But we would love to have you guys there for Deaf Chamber. Please come and represent your organization because it will be free. I'll give you a
Yeah.
booth for free. Also, I know a lot of parents are watching. We have several opportunities for camp this summer. I I
Oh, yeah.
put the email. Yes. So if you have a child, elementary, middle school, high school, we have options during the summer for them to be involved. So we're really excited. We have BBS, so elementary school kids get to go and have interpreting and captioning deaf leaders there. We have the high school camp, and if there's enough middle school interested, I'm gonna try to find a middle school option for a camp. So please email me at info at aidthesilent.com and I will send you information.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited. We'll have you back on again, hopefully in the fall. Maybe we can do another one of these, and maybe Hank will be awake instead of napping during our Facebook Live. But thank you, Emma. Thank you so much. Just a quick message to all of everyone watching today. We do appreciate all of you coming on today and watching. Texas Hands and Voices is a big part of the deaf and hard of hearing community here in Texas. We support families all over the state. I invite all of you to, go visit our website, www.txhv.org. We are pretty active on our social media channels as well. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We tweet. We even have a Pinterest page. So find us, just Google us, you'll find us. We are going to have some activities coming up in June. We're going to be participating and partnering with the Texas School for the Deaf Statewide Outreach Center Family Weekend Retreat. There's the registration for that is still open. This is open to families whose child does not attend the Texas School for the Deaf. We have a family fun day planned for June 5th here in San Antonio, as well as 6 or 7 other sites throughout the state. So be sure to register if you'd like to attend those webinars. It's live training. Some of it is recorded training, and then we're going to have a live in-person family fun day at 7 different sites throughout the state of Texas. So that's going to happen the first weekend in June. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Texas Hands and Voices Tuesday Topics event, and we'll have something new and exciting for June. I don't know what that is yet, but I'll be advertising it as soon as I do. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great day. And thank you, Emma. And thank you, Bethany, for interpreting for us today. All right, guys, we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.